Hey kiddies, it's Triple Feature Tuesday once again, and this week we're looking at Mama's boys and their undead mothers. That's right, this is on the Tuesday after Mother's Day because the mothers in this triple feature are all dead. Well, actually, they were dead, but now they've come back and they're making the Mama's boys that they raised lives just that much more miserable. Yeah. See, the key to the combination is it's not just, the overbearing mother that turns undead and starts murdering and eating everybody. It's also the mama's boy that enables this situation to happen. It's all right to love your mothers. You should love your mothers because they love you. It's not that there should be a limit on how much you love your mother, but there should be limits on how you love your mother. And if you don't maintain these limits, you create a situation in which your mothers will love you to death, as it turns out. The triple feature is going to go in order of increasing craziness of the movie and or homicidal tendencies of the mother. So our menu will include Ed and his dead mother, Pet Sematary 2, and Dead Alive. Ed and his dead mother is such a great idea for a movie that just does not actually turn into the great movie that you want it to be. And I don't even know if it fails in the way that's good for making it a cult film, because man, I watched it again and it's just there. It's just this great premise. But it stars Steve Buscemi as the titular Ed Chilton, who his mother died a year ago. He gets approached by John Glover of the Happy People Corporation, and they have the ability to reanimate the dead. And for, a small fee, considering it's the secret of life, they can bring your loved ones back to life. And so Ed pays the nominal fee. She comes back. Ed and his uncle, Benny, played by Ned Beatty, are having trouble dealing with Miriam Margolyes playing Ed's mother. And of course, everything starts out fine. Ed is happy, Mother is happy. Benny is a little frustrated because his sister Mabel was a bit overbearing in life, but then everything spirals out of control as the Happy People Corporation, maneuver things to bilk Ed out of more and more of his money. It's weird because, the way I'm describing it to you now, it sounds awesome, and again, the premise is awesome, but there are just these moments in this film where nothing is happening, and there's no music to accompany it, or there's no dialogue to make up for the gaps. It's just, you're just kind of there, but it's not presented as a documentary or anything. You're just, it's presented as a fictional movie, a story that's being told, but the story could have been condensed into 40 minutes. This is a Tales from the Crypt episode in terms of escalation, silliness, and gore, and man. It's just, I was really bummed watching it again. But Steve Buscemi's great in it, playing the beleaguered Ed. Actually, everybody's good in it. Miriam Margolyes has a resume as long as your arm. For me, she will always be the angry, shotgun-toting mother at the beginning of Magnolia and the whole prologue sequence. But Ned Beatty has a great deadpan humor to him throughout the film, reacting to everything in not necessarily stride, but he does not freak out. He just keeps getting quietly more and more frustrated and confused and perplexed as the situation gets increasingly weird. John Glover, with white hair, is a very striking figure. Sarah Jenkins, or Sarah Nay Jenkins, now Sarah Sorbo, as the femme fatale is kind of fun, but they all just sort of don't have anything to do. There's only really one murder. Mabel attacks John Grease, who is always fun and weird when he is released from prison early and tries to get revenge on her for calling the cops on him. But she gets him by serving him not the cup of tea that he wanted, but a cup of chainsaw. And yet there are these inspired moments, like when Mabel is running down the street with a knife and fork, running after like the local dog, because you have to keep consuming life. I don't know. It's hard to even talk about this movie. And there's like weird little things, like it's presented as like John Glover and the Happy People Corporation are presented as like a scientific, like this is just another company, and this is the brand new thing that we've got rolling out for you people. There's a real like 50s salesman aspect to them, but then like the rituals that are presented, like the things you actually have to do, are so arcane, like how to actually put Mabel back in the ground, and the whole like you're presented with a life kit, which is just insects for Mabel to eat, and like you could have done more with that, but they just don't. It's like you can't say there's nothing there, but the nothing never congeals into anything, but not in like the good cookie dough way, where it's just like, yeah, cookies are awesome, but if you eat cookie dough, it's just as good, and you get the extra salmonella. But I don't know, Ed and his dead mother. This is why we start, because there's nowhere to go but up. Pet Sematary 2. Now this is the first time I really gave it another shot, because I adore the first Pet Sematary. I think that's arguably one of the best Stephen King adaptations to film, and the second one just seemed like such a weird little gutter movie in comparison, and so I just kind of wrote it off. But then like I actually just like, instead of like watching it as a sequel to Pet Sematary, I just watched it as Pet Sematary 2. This movie is amazing. It is directed by Mary Lambert. Mary Lambert directed the first one, which again is just tonally on point and really a depressing, disturbing family drama. Not like it's sort of the same vein as like a Hellraiser, where it's just like, this is really the heart of the story is this family drama and the tragedy, but then all the supernatural stuff happens almost incidentally, and it makes everything worse. But this one is just a really good early to mid 90s gore movie with Eddie Furlong and Anthony Edwards and Clancy Brown and all these good people. Eddie Furlong plays Jeff, who is really devoted to his Hollywood actress mother, Renee, played by Darlan Flugel. And, she is killed in very silly fashion at the beginning of the film by being electrocuted by a stunt gone wrong, or by a set piece gone wrong. And you get to watch her get zapped. I'm going to try not to talk too much about what actually happens in the movie, because I'll just spend the whole whole video reciting it. But suffice it to say, you should watch this movie because it's hilarious and silly. So she gets killed on set. She had been separated from Jeff's father, played by a very well-haired Anthony Edwards. We were talking like it's not just the beard. The beard looks great, but like the top hair looks pretty good too, and it looks like predominantly his as well, or it's just a really great piece. But Anthony Edwards really looking good in that movie for reasons that aren't really explained. Renee dies, and then Jeff and Chase, played by Anthony Edwards, move back to Renee's hometown, which happens to be Ludlow, where the Creeds used to live in the first Pet Sematary. Chase is a veterinarian, and he sets up shop there, and that is like his plan to get everybody away, get them away from Hollywood. Maybe it's the house. Maybe it's like because they have a big home there. Maybe it's Renee's ancestral home. Maybe that's why it's there. Either way, Jeff does not have a good time of it because, not for nothing, his mother just died. And he gets picked on by bullies and befriends this weird little kid, Drew, who has an overbearing stepfather / sheriff, Gus, played by Clancy Brown, who is the only one in the entire movie doing the New England accent. Like, he is the I guess he really is the Fred Gwynn of this movie, not just in terms of the accent, but like tall, brilliant character actor who usually gets stuck playing one thing. I never picked up on that before. Gus used to have a thing with Jeff's mother back when they were in high school, so that gets weird later. And it's like a punk, goofier version of Pet Sematary, where it's the same plot points, where like a pet dies and they take him up to that old Micmac burial ground, and they bury the pet. The pet comes back evil, and then of course somebody dies and they get buried in the Micmac burial ground, and that turns out to be even worse for everybody. And there's just a lot of like inspired gore involving dirt bikes and rabbits cats and dogs and drill bits. Undead Clancy Brown is just a treat. Everything kind of like comes together really well. The mother gets resurrected, and she ends up the only person she really kills is the love interest for Anthony Edwards, or I guess love interest. She's the female housekeeper played by Sarah Trigger, who's really a nothing character, but she is the only one that could possibly be a love interest. But that's what's part of the neat thing. There is no real like new romance angle. Like usually with the mama's boy and undead mother situation, there's the mother is trying not to be replaced by the new girlfriend, Ed hooking up with Storm and his dead mother, and we'll see Lionel and Paquita in Dead Alive. But in this one, there really is no romantic interest. The mama's boy only has eyes for the mama and the ex-husband, or the widower. I don't know if they ever actually got divorced first before she died. He's not really interested in anything else. He's just like worrying about keeping his kid happy and setting up his veterinary practice. So that's kind of neat that there's not that angle. Like you get like the Gus and Drew's terrible domestic situation where Gus is definitely abusive towards Drew, but only mildly abusive towards Drew's mother, Gus's wife. But she ends up killing the housekeeper, and that's about it. She tries to kill Jeff so he can join her. Also, Chase. Yeah, definitely tries to kill Chase. But Jeff ends up making the right choice in the end, picking the living one. Even though as he's dragging Chase out from the burning building, Renee, the undead mother, is trying to convince Jeff, saying dead is better. And, it's kind of a tribute to how fun this movie actually is, that dead is better. It's an inversion of the line from the original film, where in the first film with Judd, it's a warning. Sometimes dead is better than, bringing someone back and bringing them back wrong. Whereas now it's the undead person's trying to like convince the living person to become undead. No, dead is better. Let's have fun. Let's do this. And she's melting, and it's very terrible and sick and twisted. But it kind of works. It's like a lot of. I was very happy to watch this one again. It's like Pet Sematary 2. Give it another shot. And finally, we have Dead Alive. Not the first Peter Jackson film, but definitely the one that put him on the map. It's set in the 50s, starring Timothy Balm as Lionel and Elizabeth Moody as his overbearing mother, Vera. This movie is the culmination of all of these themes. We have like the aforementioned replacement romance, the overbearing mother, the absent father. What's great about this one is that, as it turns out, I'm sorry, spoilers for a movie that is, probably going on 30 years old right now. As it turns out, Vera is the only mother that actually killed people before she died, which that's kind of impressive. And then she becomes undead and just goes even more crazy. Lionel takes his budding romance Paquita to the zoo. Vera, not being able to deal with even the possibility of being slightly replaced in Lionel's affection, follows them and is accidentally bitten by the Sumatran rat monkey and gets the bite. Sangaya. She turns into an undead person, and she ends up killing the nurse that helps her, the punks that piss on her grave, her brother. Yeah. Her brother or brother-in-law? I forget which. Lionel's uncle, and a whole slew of other people as she keeps infecting people and creating more zombies, and everything gets very, very silly and very, very gross very, very quickly. I love Dead Alive. And, Vera is definitely, Elizabeth Moody as Vera is like the most fleshed out of the three mothers in this triple feature. The second closest is Miriam Margolyes as Mabel. She gets a lot of really quirky deliveries to her lines. Like, they're usually like little like head turn moments where you're like, wait, what did she just say? Whereas Vera is just such an overbearing matriarch and is just evil right from the start, and she's just so funny before she becomes a zombie, where it's just like, Lionel, does this look like a well-maintained frontage? And she's just terrible from the beginning, and she's terrible until the end. Is and by the end I mean when she is like a 2-story gigantic naked fertility goddess zombie that literally tries to shove Lionel back into the womb. It's like as I said at the beginning, you gotta put some boundaries on the love you have for your mother, or if you're the mother, for your son. Dead Alive, if nothing, in addition to being a great horror movie, is also a great cautionary tale in terms of setting the appropriate limits on the affection between a mother and her son, and a son and his mother. And so, take all of these movies for the lessons that they all have. And I hope you all wished your mother a happy Mother's Day. And, not for nothing, every day should be Mother's Day. So always check in and always make sure that they know that they love you, as I love my mother. So I'll see you guys next week.